Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and we are presented by FanDuel. We appreciate you being here, and we are going to have a great time recapping all the Week 5 fun, chaos, heartbreak, whatever it was that you experienced in Week 5. We are going to talk about it all. I got my main guy here, Zach Guggenheim, who he would never, ever blame refs at any point in time for any game ever. He is the man, Zach Guggenheim.
I've come close once. It was the 2019 Fiesta Bowl. But even then, Justin Fields could have won the game at the end. So
That's true. He could have.
I don't blame the rest for that. But it was a fumble and a touchdown. Anyway,
Yeah.
that was 6 years ago. I don't think about that much anymore.
I can tell you never think about it. It never crosses your mind.
So I was calling a high school game the other night, and the score was 41-14. And I was like, oof, that brings back memories of 2006. And they made fun of me for it. And I'm like, listen, that Florida-Ohio State game, it left an imprint, I think, on every Ohio State fan that night.
Yeah. Few programs have done that, but Ohio State got the last laugh against Clemson because right now Ohio State is 4-0. Clemson I think is like 1-3. So you tell me which program's done better since 2019.
Do you think Dabo still ranked Ohio State 11th this week?
No, probably not. Probably not this week. I don't know if he's thinking about the rankings too much at all. I think he's probably thinking about his job a little bit more.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, good stuff. Good stuff. We're going to get into it. Before we do, let's get to the chat. We got Steely Matt coming in early right away and helping us out with sharing the stream. Thank you, Steely Matt, for doing that.
Yes.
John is here with his like. Yes, please do like the show. If you're here on YouTube, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Retweet, repost, whatever you call it now, on Twitter. Illini Bubba hitting us with the ILL, INI. We appreciate you being here. Road Dust, he's coming in with his own takeaways from the week. He says Oregon is good under pressure. The true freshmen really played like elite dogs. No questions there. Deer Hill, he's an awesome running back. I really like him. He says Road Dust says Ohio State really needs to be tested. They still have no identity when it comes to a big game. I think that really kind of depends on your thought on Texas, right? I mean, if you think Texas is legit a good defense and stuff like that, they have been tested, but I can see what you mean about like road stuff like that. But again, kind of like I said with Illinois and other teams, it's like sometimes you just tear apart the team that lost instead of actually praising the team that won. And so that is something to consider there. What were you gonna say, Zach?
What does it say about like Ohio State that they've played Texas and at Washington and that they still haven't been tested in some people's minds? Like, what does that say about Ohio State as a program right now?
Yeah, I mean, I would disagree with Robe Dust, but you know, he is entitled to his own opinion here, and I think that the Buckeyes will be tested plenty of times this season. They got Illinois coming up, Penn State, Michigan, plenty of tests coming in my mind. We will see how they do. He also says IU's win was great. But will the style of play work at Oregon and Penn State? Not likely. Soul searching needs to take place this bye week. I don't think that's the style of play Indiana will go for week to week. No. What do you think, Zach?
No, but I'll talk more about it in my own takeaways. But
yeah, we'll get there. Illinois can play when the game counts. Big time players, big time plays down the stretch. Yep, big time players in those running backs. I mean, Brett Bielema trusted them, right? They specifically Caden Fagan. They fumbled earlier in that game, and he put the game on the offensive line and the running backs, and they came through. So redemption for them. You love to see it in football.
Burt Signal.
Yep,
he's the man.
Mm-hmm. And Robe Dust says Jordan Davison is a playmaker at the Oregon running back, ice in his veins. I mean, they just have a complete running back room of playmakers at this point. Hill, Davison, I mean, Mekhi Hughes came in as a huge addition, and he's basically their fifth running back at this point. So
his face is on a milk carton at this point. Where is Mekhi Hughes? We don't know.
It's kind of crazy. And Whittington, he's number 2 for a while. So other people agreeing with you in the chat saying that Ohio State has been tested. there as well. And yeah, hard to keep up with the chat here. We appreciate all of you being here. Yes, Burt Signal, Burt, big time Burt in the late games for sure. Love all that stuff. All right, we got a lot to get to in this episode, Zach. So let's go ahead and start with the Oregon Penn State recap. Obviously, 3-3 at halftime. Not a whole lot of offense in this game. Oregon explodes a little bit there in the second half, gets it to 17-3. Dan Lanning going on the sidelines. Finish him. It didn't happen, Dan. Didn't happen at all. And honestly, that's one of those things you kind of look back on, and thankfully Oregon won the game. But Dan would have became a meme a little bit if if Oregon hadn't come back, or not came back, if Oregon hadn't held on and won that game. But they ultimately do. Double overtime. Oregon wins the game. Game-winning interception by Dylan Thieneman. Zach, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so I'll say a quick thing about Oregon, but it's mostly about Penn State. I said I would not put Oregon number one after this. That doesn't mean I think that they aren't a national championship contender. And I think this is, I was listening to Bill Landis and Doug Lesmerises on their show, and I thought they made a really good point. I think this is a benchmark for this team because you've got a lot of young pieces. You go into a road environment like this against a whiteout, and they took care, they survived. They made the plays when they needed to, which a lot of folks in the chat have been saying. And I think you have to give Oregon a ton of credit. And they're absolutely a Big Ten and national championship contender. So that's my Oregon takeaway. Dante Moore, by the way, not as efficient yet as like Dylan Gabriel, but that dude, like he is the best prospect they've had at quarterback with Dan Lanning. I don't think that's a question.
Yeah, he has the mobility, the arm, the kind of side action throw and stuff that you can do, kind of with the arm angles that make him a very enticing prospect at the next level. I mean, Oregon right now is the favorite to win the Big Ten on FanDuel. They're plus 160. Ohio State is plus 170. Those are the two faraway favorites. You have Penn State sneaking up there a little bit at plus 650, but overall, I mean, right now it's between Ohio State and Oregon at this point when it comes to the betting odds. So
yeah,
we'll see how that works out, but I definitely think those are the two teams that have the best chance right now. Penn State obviously come back with a win against Ohio State later in the year, but don't look past that Indiana game. That's going to be a real game for Indiana and Penn State as well. So we'll talk more about that one when it comes into it. But I just want to kind of reiterate what I've said for a while, which is don't, like, in these type of losses, I get the tendency is to kind of go hard at Penn State, and I did it last night a little bit as well in our power ranking show, but this Penn State team is not out of anything yet, right? I mean, Drew Aller, yes, he's struggling with confidence right now, it looks like, but he gets his confidence back and this offense starts to figure things out. They did come back in that game when it counted. They were pretty clutch there for a little bit. Of course, it didn't work out in the second overtime, but I mean, there was some good play by Penn State in this one that really could have swayed you a little bit. And this is coming from the guy that has them fourth in power rankings right now, but I mean, I had Ohio State fourth in power rankings at one point last season. So, and that's honestly kind of like my biggest takeaway from this game is like, I know the offensive line hasn't been playing to what some would hope. I know Drew Aller hasn't been playing to what some would hope, Nicholas Singleton, but you still have a good defense here. And that defense fell apart a little bit in the second half, but you also were getting no help from the offense. So you start figuring out the offense, you start figuring some of this stuff out. Honestly, this Penn State team still has the trajectory of what Ohio State was last year. And that's probably my biggest takeaway from this one is like, yes, this sucks. And yes, Ohio State lost on the road last year. Penn State loses at home. So there is a difference there. But I would not totally count out this Penn State team yet. In fact, I personally am not. They're still top 5 right now in national championship odds behind just, who is it? The Georgia, or no, just behind Alabama and Texas. They're sitting at plus 850. Ohio State has the best odds on FanDuel at plus 500. So I get it. That's the big thing. But Illinois this week, they came back. Iowa this week, they had a really good game against Indiana. Couldn't seal it, but it was a good game. So we'll see.
I don't disagree because I like Penn State. They have a manageable schedule. If Indiana continues to win and they can beat Indiana or they can beat Ohio State, they're certainly still in the playoff. They're not just in the playoff race. They are in the Big Ten race too. Here's maybe my pushback though, is I don't think Penn State's a top 10 team. And I think they could be, but I think the biggest problem with this team is that Drew Aller is the wrong quarterback for Andy Kotelnicki's system. Like Kotelnicki needs Bo Pribula, and they don't have a Bo Pribula.
I mean, to a certain extent, yes, but they also weren't trying to run Drew Aller last night. The entire night, right? I mean, they were dropping back to pass, and they have better receivers this year. I think the biggest thing is Aller's confidence. I do think that Andy Kotelnicki is better suited. His offense is better suited for a running quarterback. I think you make a good point. But if Andy Kotelnicki is worth anything as an offensive coordinator, he should be able to scheme an offense together. And who knows? Maybe last year, Ohio State completely changed their defense when they lost that game to Oregon. Maybe we see a complete change with the offense. Maybe we see different stuff being done. I know it's a little bit different with offense because you have one guy back there over it all instead of a collection of guys in the on the defense. But I just think it's too early to completely write off Penn State. We saw Alabama.
I'm not writing them off.
Well, you just said they're not a top 10 team.
Currently, they're not.
Okay.
My point is they've got to figure things out. And right now, they are not a match. And so this is you look at those first three quarters, and you see how Kotelnicki called that game. That was never going to win. And if that does not get fixed, so I'm with you. I'm not disagreeing that they can't get it fixed and they couldn't be a playoff team. What I'm saying is currently, if they don't fix it, this is not a top 10 team. The way that they're playing offense right now.
I think that is just such a hard distinction to make right now because you have teams like Georgia losing to Alabama at home. I mean, would you say Georgia's not a top 10 team?
No, I mean, they lost by 3. I think they have good wins. Look at their resumes.
Who has Georgia beat?
They beat Tennessee.
I mean, yeah, but Tennessee's no good.
Okay, but they're better than Villanova. They're better than better than FIU.
Sure,
that's who Penn State struggled to play.
Oh, they struggled to look dominant. They didn't struggle against those teams. They killed all those teams. Yes, they didn't. They did not cover the spread, but I mean, you won 34-0 against FIU. They didn't struggle against those teams. They just didn't meet expectations.
But it's the same issues though, right? It's the same offensive issue. That's my point.
Right, is but you had some of the same my point said, you had some of the same issues with Ohio State last year with their defense.
That's valid.
Not exactly.
But
there were some more big plays in that one and some more getting behind the defense, but still, I mean, defensive line issues, kind of some of the passive conservativeness on the defensive issues that you had. Great, it's not a one-for-one comparison, but I just think it's too early to write off Penn State. And I know you're not writing them off. I'm just saying for anybody out there, it's no way Penn State wins it all. They might make the playoffs, but they can't win it all. Stranger things have happened in college football.
Right. Yeah, and just to reiterate, I'm very much saying currently they are not a top 10 team, but I would agree if they can fix things. If they can fix things, I think they can still be a top 5 team, but and maybe this is part of it. I feel like we've seen this movie from this team the past year and a half, and they haven't fixed certain things. I think Tyler Warren was a get out of jail free card for them a lot last year.
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of things for him. He basically won that USC game for him. I know there's a lot of revisionist history now, Drew Aller came back for him. No, that was Tyler Warren. I think even in that game, somebody mentioned the USC game last year, and it's guys,
he had over 200 yards. Yeah.
This was a Tyler Warren game that basically won it for them. But of course, the quarterback always gets the credit, but the quarterback also gets the blame, and that's the nature of the position. So, all right, let's move on to the next one here. A lot of good stuff in the comments. We appreciate you being here. We do see you. We just need to move on to the next game here. So we are moving along in a timely manner. Ohio State defeats Washington 24-6 in their Big Ten opener at Husky Stadium, one of the most difficult places to play, breaking Washington's second longest streak in the nation, and the longest streak for Georgia, home winning streak for them, got broken this game as well. I need to look up who the new longest winning streak is, but it was a tough game there in the first half. Ohio State did not score until the second quarter. They got stopped on 4th and goal after a 9-play, 45-yard drive. Brandon Ennis fumbles the punt return, but it helps him out when Washington goes for the fake field goal there in the second quarter. Absolutely hated it. Terrible decision. I don't like it from Jedd Fisch. I cannot stand it. I think it's a terrible decision. Ohio State scores before the half. Touchdown pass from Julian Sayin to Jeremiah Smith. And then it was all kind of over from there. Julian Sayin, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bo Jackson, 17 carries, 80 yards. And Caden Curry with one of the most dominant defensive games that you're going to see this season. 11 tackles, 3 sacks, 5 tackles for loss. And that was he wasn't even the only one. Caden McDonald had a couple sacks there as well. So just a dominant game from Ohio State in the second half. A little iffy there in the first half. You could go with some conservative play calling and stuff like that, but dominant effort by the Buckeyes. Zach, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of commentary that we could talk about with Jedd Fisch and play calling and decision making. But
well, here's my thing. You just tell me if you agree with it really fast, and then we'll move on. You have the best, arguably the best trio of players, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, in the nation on your offense. You're going to take them off the field so that way you can put a kicker on the field and have the element of surprise.
Oh, it's a terrible call.
Terrible idea. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's especially terrible when the receiver you're throwing to doesn't even know that that's the call.
Yeah, it was not even a well schemed up play because the player didn't even know what was going on. So anyway,
right.
All right. I'm glad we're on the same page with that. Go ahead. The rest of the game.
This is the
touch on the penalties or anything like that. I know you've been stewing on that.
I have, but ultimately, I think the biggest takeaway. This is the best defense in the country for Ohio State, and I'm not sure it's close at this point. At this point, things can change, but you've got first round, maybe like top half of first round guys at every level of this defense. Caden McDonald, stud. Caden Curry, he may not be a first round pick, but that dude's got a high motor. Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles they are the best linebacker duo in the country. And you have Caleb Downs and you have really good corners. They shut down this attack. And you can say what you want about penalties. You can say what you want about play calling. They shut down one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the country. And there are clips where Arvell Reese is mirroring this guy as a spy. And it just nothing doing. Like he had negative 20 yards rushing or something ridiculous.
Wait. Yeah, Damon Williams is what, like 5'11", 190 or something like that? Like, he's not a very big dude, so he should have the speed to get past Arvell Reese, who is, I think, 6'4", like
250.
250? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Like,
dude's going to be a top 10 pick.
Oh, yeah. The fact that he's able to keep up with the Damon Williams, who, like I said, is like 5'11", maybe not 190, 200, 210, maybe if that.
He is Kyler Murray-esque in his stature. I wouldn't say he's like he is the second coming.
I'll look up the measurements for sure. Go ahead, sorry.
But yeah, I just if you're going to beat Ohio State, you have to deal with maybe the best defense in the country.
Yeah, I mean that's it, and that's kind of goes into my takeaway is like there was really no question about this defense other than defensive line, in my opinion. And you go with this, he is 5'11", 190. Okay, I was right the first time.
Well done.
I stuck with that. So, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest part. That's the biggest part of this takeaway that I had, which is like Ohio State's defensive line issues. I don't think they were overblown. I just think that Matt Patricia has shown himself to be one of the best defensive coordinators in the nation in only 4 games because he has done a great job of masking those issues. You have Edric Houston, who's playing hurt right now. I don't think there's any way around it. He's playing hurt and he's not playing disciplined football as well. It's a terrible combination. So both of those two things are happening. And on top of that, the backups for Edric Houston, they're doing okay, but they're not doing anything spectacular. So instead, you have a litany of edge rushers on this team. Bo Atkinson, Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Curry. Just move them onto the inside, and those dudes are so strong and so physical, even though they're undersized. Offensive lines aren't able to push them around. It's honestly just insane that they have the type of athletes to be able to do this kind of stuff, and Matt Patricia can just go out there and just basically play with whatever chess pieces he wants wherever on the board.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. And that I think this would go into another takeaway. I know we're trying to keep it short. Like, Washington's very much a top 25 team. Like, this is a good team.
Yes.
And they held them to
the thing that people did with Illinois after the Indiana game and be like, oh, they got blown out. They're terrible. Like, no, one of the games of the weakness next week is Washington, Maryland. Because those are two teams that are on the verge right now of being ranked a little bit. I mean, both of them are probably in like the 30 to 40 range, maybe getting votes. I mean, Maryland has been getting votes in some cases. So they're kind of in that range. And whichever one wins this game is either going to be ranked or very close to being ranked.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's going to be very, very interesting. Offense for Ohio State, really fast. Julian Sain in this one, 22 of 28, only 200 yards. 2 touchdowns, conservative play calling. Ohio State fans were not happy about it. Do you have a take on the play calling, Zach?
I think Ohio State fans need to chill.
I think Ohio State fans just need to accept, like, this is what it is, right? Like, well, I think that's what you're saying.
Well, but even then, like, go look at the drive chart. You went for it on fourth. It was a turnover on downs at the 4.5 yard line. Then you have a punt return that's fumbled. 1 punt. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown, end of game. So, like, it was quote unquote conservative because that's kind of what was dictated for them. And Ryan Day just said, okay, that's what we'll do. It honestly probably should have been 34 or 38-6, which is like they had self-inflicted wounds. So I think it's a bad criticism. Like, that's not to say that Brian Hartline doesn't need to grow as a play caller. But I think it's completely unfounded.
I think Ryan Day's calling plays.
I
mean, Brian Hartline might be up there with the sheet, but I think Ryan Day's in his ear, like, hey, Brian, see that play in the top left? Go ahead and
there is real. Well, I mean, Ryan Day does say it's a collaborative effort. Yeah, we don't know how collaborative it is.
Brian, I will tell you the play, and you tell Julian Sain the play, and we'll go from there. I mean, obviously, it's not actually that, but I do think that Ryan Day is more involved in this than some people are giving them credit for.
Oh, yeah. Well, I could see where it's like, here's 3 plays that you should think about. What about this one? No, Brian, not that one. What about this one? No, Brian, not that one. Oh, okay.
This is like when my daughter goes to the pantry for a snack, and it's like, hey, can I pick a snack? I'm like, sure, pick a snack. I have a very specific snack in mind that she can have, and it's like, I am not gonna let you have the M&Ms. No, you cannot have the graham crackers. Hey, that non-sugary snack right there. Yes, it's a half hour before bedtime. Yeah. Let's do that one.
Billy Tuesday is calling us out here, lovingly.
I just don't see like Hartline's fingerprints on it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm not trying to disrespect him and say he's doing a bad job or anything. I don't see Brian Hartline calling this conservative game plan.
Well, I think a lot of the collaboration though is probably their pre-game planning, right? They've installed their plan, and that is probably more conservative than Hartline would like. And I think that's probably more Ryan Day.
Yeah. I think Ryan Day is adjusted, and he's a pretty conservative guy in the regular season. I think he and Brian Hartline together, not just Ryan Day, please understand, I'm mostly joking here.
Yeah.
I think that'll open it up more. So
yeah. I have a 30 second. Well, this should lead to a different video at some point, but a 30-second thought.
Go ahead.
I think Ryan Day is on the verge of becoming the next Nick Saban.
I mean, I hear it said a lot. We'll go win 2 more titles and we'll talk about it.
But yeah, he's got to prove it. But
yeah,
I think there's some things that are happening
I don't know if
including his.
anybody's going to be Nick Saban in this era. There's so much parity. There's so much going on. Like you have a 12-team playoff. It's not as easy to win a national championship as it was back in the day. Um, if it happens, it happens. But we'll see. So.
Yep.
All right, let's get to Iowa, Indiana. At Iowa, Indiana had a little bit of a hard time in the first half of this game. They did score on an interception to begin the game, or a drive off an interception where they had 2 plays for 24 yards for the touchdown there. But then after that, it was punt, turnover on downs, field goal, punt in the second half. And eventually they turned it on with a field goal touchdown to end the game. But this was a difficult one for Indiana for I wouldn't say the entire game. Well, I mean it was a tough one. It was a hard fought game the entire time. Iowa kind of drug them into their style of play and kind of reflected on the Michigan game for Indiana a little bit last season, right? And I thought it kind of felt like the Ohio State Michigan game last year as well. 13-13 at one point. Felt like both teams were kind of struggling to put points on the board. Iowa misses the field goal. It was a pretty interesting game. What were your thoughts on it, Zach?
I think 2 things are really make me think about this. One, I feel like I was proved right in that I thought Indiana might struggle with the lines of scrimmage a little bit more. Like I think Iowa just is a better matchup for Indiana than Illinois was with their lines of scrimmage, and you're on the road at Iowa. So I think Indiana went into a game on a high thinking, they're untouchable. I don't know if they thought they were untouchable, but everybody else thought they were untouchable.
I think some of their fans did. I don't think Indiana did. I think Kirk Sinay is too good of a coach to let his team think that.
Right. And I think we saw, I think they're going to struggle a little bit more when you face teams, particularly that are stronger on the lines. So that's just something to note when they play Penn State and Oregon. But Indiana did what great schools do. They win on the road when you play a C+ game. That's what this was. They played a C+ game. They found a way to win on the road. This is what Tier 1 schools do. Is they win when you play poorly.
I mean, it's interesting. Indiana right now on FanDuel has odds plus 1,400 to go undefeated the rest of the season. They're actually one of the lowest teams with the odds to do that, and I think it's primarily because of the Oregon and Penn State games coming up. But I think even if you lose those games, you still have a good possibility of making the college football playoffs at 10-2, as long as Illinois and Iowa continue to look good. Now, if Iowa goes like 7-5 this season, maybe not. But as I've said before, I think Iowa's probably somewhere in the 7-9 win range, so they could definitely help them out there. But I mean, this was just a really interesting game. The way it was able to go, Fernando Mendoza made some mistakes. Indiana got rattled, and honestly, Iowa had the chance to pretty much win the game there with a late game field goal, and they missed the field goal. And look, new saying alert. Don't give Kirk Sinay another chance. You give him another chance, and you're going to lose. And I know, obviously, Kirk Ferentz and them weren't trying to make that happen, but they had Hank Brown out there. Mark Gronowski went down. It was really tough for them to be able to move the ball after that happened. Mark Gronowski did a good job on like third down and stuff like that in this game, and some of those clutch moments where they just needed a little bit of yardage to keep the drive alive. Iowa did a good job with that. They didn't have a single drive of less than 3 plays other than that opening drive where they gave up an interception. 5 plays, 12 plays, 11 plays, 5 plays, 8 plays, 5 plays, 6 plays, 4 plays, 9 plays. I mean, they were able to make their drives last longer and not just go 3 and out. So credit to Iowa in this one. They were able to dig Indiana into an uncomfortable game. But, those interceptions, you just can't have those. And those were turning points in this game, unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree.
Does Iowa win if Gronowski didn't get hurt?
I don't know. I hate to play the what if game. It's possible, but Indiana, I think, was clutch down the stretch, and they made the plays when they had to. So,
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because Hank Brown was not good.
No, absolutely not.
And I'm not the biggest Mark Gronowski fan in the world, obviously, but
There's a strong case to say they could have.
The leadership. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a strong case to be made that they could have won. But sorry, you were about to say the leadership, and I think you're right on there.
Yeah, and that was the big part of it. Is like, even though Mark Gronowski, I don't think was having the best day, I still think the leadership is something that down in that game at the end of it you would have had that would have been obviously looking better. So, all right. Let's do. Oh, my last takeaway here for the Iowa game. Sorry, was I think two things can be true right now. I think if you're an Iowa fan, you can be really really upset with Kirk Ferentz and question whether you're gonna ever get over that hump and get to the playoffs and do something like that. But I think at the same time, you can also say it's not the right idea to move on from Kirk Ferentz. Look at what Wisconsin did. Look at what some other teams did. Like, everybody wants to look at Indiana and be like, look, they hired the right guy and they're in the playoffs and they're doing everything. There's a reason why this is one of the best coaching jobs ever in college football history, what Kirk Cinetti is doing right now. It's because it doesn't happen often. And there is a lot of stuff behind the scenes with this Indiana program with why Kirk Cinetti is able to do what he does. The investment right now from this program, from the fan base, from everybody else, people don't give it enough credit. But Indiana right now is one of the best jobs in the Big Ten. And I don't think enough people understand that.
Yeah. He's not going to Florida. He's not going to Florida.
No, Kirk Cinetti's not leaving Indiana.
No.
I know that's going to make SEC fans mad because they're going to want to bring him over there, but he's getting paid well. His coordinators are making like $2 million a year. You tell me if Indiana was ever going to pay a coordinator $2 million a year 5 years ago, and I would have dropped dead, like in shock of you saying that. But they invested in the program, they invested in Cignetti, they're investing in their players, and it's absolutely the right call. And Indiana, they got serious about football because basketball wasn't going the way they wanted to, and now everybody's like, oh, so this is what could have happened with the basketball program if we would have just hired the right coach, and it's working for him. So it's a great story. I love this Indiana team. I love Kirk Cinetti, and I'm looking forward to see them make the playoffs this year because I think that's where they're going.
Mm-hmm. So. Agreed.
All right. Let's move on to the next one here, Zach, the Fighting Illini. Now, I know I picked USC to win in this one, but Zach picked Illinois to win. So I'm going to let Zach take his victory lap first in this one, and then I will make my excuses. Go ahead, Zach.
I mean, I don't think you have to make a lot of excuses here. I think both Illinois and USC are top 20 teams, and Illinois just ran into a buzzsaw last week. Like, that's what this was. It's what it's been when people are reacting and saying Illinois is not good. When certain people who shall remain nameless say it is ridiculous that they didn't fall out of the polls last week. I say you are being a hater and you don't understand football in this moment because blowouts happen. It does not mean that you are that bad, right? Sometimes it's just not your night, particularly when you have like 6 injuries in your secondary. So both teams are really good. This doesn't mean USC is bad either, by the way. Although I think Bielema is levels above Lincoln Riley as a coach. That's another discussion for another time. But Illinois came back and won. Good for them. USC put up a good fight. Illinois got the victory and bounced back.
I think the most impressive thing about this one is that, the path for victory for Illinois in this game was for USC to turn the ball over, Illinois to get extra opportunities, for them to capitalize on those and win the game, right? Which that did happen. USC gave them opportunities. Illinois has the bogus fumble call. I think, most people can say that was a bogus call. If not, maybe go watch the replay, and I think most people would agree that it was a pretty bogus fumble, the first one. And then the second fumble call, which, Illinois was on the way to sealing the game. USC gets the ball back. It kind of gave you shades of Michigan State, USC last week, where you fumble the ball and USC gets right back into the game. They go down the field and they score, and they put together the 2-point conversion earlier to be able to get the score up 32-31. But gosh darn it, Lincoln Riley, you scored right after the 2-minute warning on a long pass play. It wasn't like you were on like the 2-yard line and you're like, well, we just better score here, Like, holy cow, how terrible of game management can you have? Sometimes I think we go a little bit too hard on Lincoln Riley with the game management, the clock management stuff. Sometimes I'm like, okay, guys, like let's give him a break here. There was no going at it differently in this one. He played right into Brett Bielema's hands, and honestly, I don't know if Brett Bielema may have just told Henkel on that one, hey, just let Riley get to the end zone, just let him score.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got the offense that's going to be able to go right down the field and kick a field goal. I mean, he said it in the post game. He said that's the best kicker I've ever been around. David Alano.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think Brett Bielema would just let a team score, but I think with 2 minutes left in that game, Brett Bielema was probably on the sideline like, yeah, this is exactly where we want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and credit to them, credit to Illinois coming back, and listen, we say it a lot on this show. This is why Brett Bielema is one of the best in the game, right? You lose by 53 the week before. You get embarrassed on national television. They could have easily just packed it in. You didn't see any give up on this team. Like Luke Altmaier played his tail off. These receivers played their tails off. This offensive line, I saw someone talk about it. Offensive line probably played their best game of the season. And
they also switched it up. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'll talk.
Well, yeah, they switched it up. They played their best game of the season, and they had resolve at the end. Like they got punched in the mouth and they fought back. So, just lots of credit to this Illini team for pulling this win out against legitimately a good USC team.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is like USC is a legitimately good team. And I was doing the post game for this over at Talk Illini, which, by the way, if you're a Illini fan, go over there to Talk Illini and subscribe there. That's the On3 Illinois football and basketball channel there. But when I was doing the post game on it, I said, like, you look at these numbers for the secondary, they're not good. The secondary gave up a lot of yards in the air. I mean, Jay Maava had the most passing yards of any quarterback in the Big Ten this week 5. But this is also the lowest scoring output that USC had all season. I mean, USC's been scoring points at will so far this season against Michigan State, against Purdue, against Georgia Southern, Missouri State, all these teams. Granted, not great teams, but still, for you to be able to hold USC well enough to keep them at 32 so that way you can score 34 and win the game, it's absolutely huge, and it just speaks to this Illinois team. The fact that they did not have healthy players against Illinois, which is not an excuse. You need to have good enough depth to not lose by 53 points. But still, just shows how good this team is when, one, you use the offensive line in the right way, and two, you have a healthy secondary back there, which is legitimately one of the strongest, if not the strongest part of this team.
Yep, so, absolutely.
But yeah, USC should still be ranked. If anybody's coming out of this one and they're like, USC's not good, it's the same thing with Washington. It's the same thing with Penn State. It's the same thing with other teams in my mind. Like, we can't just have that be our reaction every time. We got to give Illinois credit here. Great win by them. Mm-hmm. Great leadership. Luke Altmaier is a dude. Once again, Luke Altmaier's proven me right. He is a gamer. He's going to do anything out there to win the game, and I love it. It's great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Right. Good stuff here. Philip says, how safe is Riley's job? I mean, they're not going to fire him anytime soon because of the buyout, right, Zach?
Things would have to collapse pretty spectacularly. Like, I think if they go 9-3 or better, he's like absolutely safe. And I think you have to go like 6-6 or worse to actually have any real chance.
Yeah. But even then, the buyout is huge. Like, it would take a Herculean donor to get out of that.
Yeah.
And I think right now in this, part of college football where, like, you're paying players with the revenue sharing and everything like that, people are not going to be as likely to just pay a huge buyout and get out of it. So, all right. Let's move on to Rutgers at Minnesota. Minnesota gets this game 31-28. Minnesota did not run the ball very well as a team. They were 18 carries for 35 yards. Rutgers had a very productive first half, 10-play, 71-yard drive to open the game, but the blocked field goal again with these field goals for Rutgers. Zach, it's really really tough for them at this point. But Rutgers was able to have a big have a big first half in this game. They were able to get up on Minnesota and score 21 points. It was 21-14 there at the end of the first half, but Minnesota responds in the second half. And I don't know what it is about Rutgers, but they were just not a second half team. They're not a good defensive team. They're not a second half team, Zach. And to me, that's a really bad combination.
Well, and they're not good on special teams either.
Yeah, bad special teams, bad defense, bad second half. Yikes.
Yeah, this isn't my overall takeaway, but I do think it's worth noting. This is maybe the least disciplined Rutgers team I've seen under Schiano, maybe ever. At least since he turned it around the first time.
Do you think that is a product of more offensive teams? Like, it feels like to me, I'd have to go back and do the numbers on this, but it feels like to me teams that are more offensive minded typically tend to be less disciplined than teams that are more defensive minded.
I mean, I think there's some validity there. At least experientially. I don't know if that's like statistically proven, but experientially, I feel like that rings very true. So, but here's my maybe higher level takeaway from this game. And this is really less to do with Minnesota and Rutgers and more with the Big Ten as a whole. Man, Athan Kaliakmanis and Drake Lindsey are both high level passers. Both are very good quarterbacks. On no offense to either of these teams, not great Big Ten teams. Like I think Minnesota could ascend, but to me, it's a sign. It's another sign that the Big Ten collectively has taken a massive leap forward in being competitive with other conferences, particularly in the SEC, because the quarterback play in this conference is significantly better than any other conference right now. When you have a Rutgers with Kaliakmanis and a Minnesota with Drake Lindsey, where they're slinging it, man. Kaliakmanis is going to be a draft pick. And Drake Lindsey, when he comes out, is going to be, I think, a high draft pick. Because both those dudes can ball.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Kaliakmanis has really shown his evolution as a passer this season going into his senior year. He's still not as accurate as I'd like, but he's definitely, I mean, if you would have put Drew Allar's accuracy and Athan Kaliakmanis's, gusto and confidence together, you'd have one heck of a quarterback there.
Do you think Penn State wins with Kaliakmanis under center last night?
I don't know. He may have thrown some picks in that game.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Turned it. I like Kaliakmanis a lot this season. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to bash the dude, but he is a gunslinger. I heard somebody call Julian Sain a gunslinger, and I think it was one of the announcers in that Ohio State-Washington game, and I was like, what are you talking about? He is not a gunslinger. Athan Kaliakmanis is a gunslinger.
Yeah.
He's going to throw that ball all around and just get it to his receivers.
That ball that he threw in triple coverage that was a touchdown to Duff. That was a great play. Don't do that again.
That's one of those ones where you're like, thank God we have amazing receivers on this team. Because I don't know if anybody else would have caught that out there. So I shouldn't say anybody else. There are a number of good wide receivers that would have, but yeah. So I do think it's tough. It's tough. Our friend Alibaba and Mike from Saturday, what's it called? Saturdays.
We live for Saturdays.
I'm gonna say Saturdays down south. I was like, no, that's a website. We live for Saturdays. He did say we didn't give Minnesota enough credit, and I can see where Minnesota fans are coming from there. It's just hard right now because this Rutgers team, like they're a bottom 5 team in the Big Ten right now. Maybe things will change by the end of the season, but they're a bottom 5 team in the Big Ten. You won at home in a 1-score game. Like a team like Maryland went to go play a team, albeit not as good as Rutgers in Wisconsin, won that game on the road by multiple scores. The game was really never in question outside of the first quarter, and this one, you're kind of close with Rutgers. You have a come-from-behind win in the second half. I mean, it kind of just depends on what your thoughts are. But I will say, it's a really good sign for Drake Lindsey to be able to be the one that kind of wins the game for the team when you're out A.J. Turner, Darius Taylor, and you really have no running game at all. It's not sustainable, but it's a really nice thing to see for this game.
Yeah, my pushback to Minnesota fans, which I think it's good to celebrate a win, right? But this is
of course they should celebrate this
yeah,
win. I just don't
yeah.
know if it boosts you up 3 or 4 spots in the power rankings.
Right. Well, and I think it feels similar to Iowa last week when they beat Rutgers. Where it's like, yeah, we went on the road and beat a team. It's like, guys, you've never lost to Rutgers. Like, no
Yeah.
offense, like, okay. It would have been huge for Rutgers to beat you. I don't think it's huge for I think similarly, like, okay, like Minnesota did it without Darius Taylor. That's to be commended. I think we
And
can
AJ Turner.
Yeah, and I think we can totally talk about the evolution of Drake Lindsay. I think that's big. But this was expected. And the only reason why I picked Rutgers to win this game, the reason why is because I have concerns after the Cal game, and I still do. So, and like I really am curious to see what they do against Ohio State next week. I certainly don't expect them to win, but that's going to tell us more about Minnesota than this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fisherman's right. Minnesota's pass defense isn't great. I will say they were facing Rutgers, very good quarterback, good quarterback to very good possibly in some scenarios, and good wide receivers to very good wide receivers as well. At the very least, underrated passing game between those two. So I would like to see what happens in another game because Sigapolitele, but still, back-to-back games against Cal and Athen Kaliakmanis, the pass defense didn't look all that great. We'll see what it looks like moving forward. Don't think Ohio State's really the measuring test there. I'll be looking after that game to kind of have a measuring test there because that's the next one up. But all right, Zach, final game here: UCLA, Northwestern. Northwestern gets the win, 17-14 over UCLA. Northwestern ran the ball really well. They found Caleb Komalafe, I believe is how you pronounce it. He had a really good day on the ground. Preston Stone didn't turn the ball over. That attributed to the win, 12 of 18 for 115 yards, 1 touchdown. And then Nico Iamaleava. I'm impressed with how hard he is still playing. I thought Nico might kind of mail it in a little bit, even if he was still playing. Like he might kind of go down and maybe be frustrated, but move on. He's still playing really hard in this game. 14 rushing attempts for 65 yards, 19 of 27 for 180 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. It's going to be a tough year for Nico. UCLA might not win a game this season, but I like to see that he's actually still hanging in there and still playing hard for his team.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Nico's playing hard. They're not winning a game this season.
Not at all?
No, they're going 0-12.
I don't think there's one on there anywhere.
Okay, so this is the rest of UCLA's schedule. Penn State, at Michigan State, Maryland, at Indiana, Nebraska, at Ohio State, Washington at home, at USC. You can make a case that they could beat a team like Michigan State or Maryland or...
Yeah, but it's at Michigan State.
Yeah, they lost... Northwestern might have a couple more wins on their schedule, but they lost to New Mexico. There's a talent dearth here. It's not just, and by talent dearth, I know that the recruiting rankings would say otherwise.
I would say the recruiting rankings having a top 30 talent deposit.
Development and coaching, I just don't know if I trust the coaching staff to get them ready for their schedule, it's pretty difficult. At Michigan State's improved, Maryland's improved. And I don't trust them. Those would be the two where I'm maybe they have a 10% shot. Everything else, I'm they're not beating Penn State. They're certainly not beating Ohio State. They're not beating Washington. They're not beating USC. No.
Yeah, not good. Not good for UCLA. I am sad. I want UCLA to be good. Contrary to some UCLA fans' beliefs in the offseason who said I hated UCLA, I do not hate UCLA. I want UCLA to be good. I was just not ever really high on them this season. I did not think Nico was going to be able to change everything in a program that was being run by Deshaun Foster. I thought he was in over his head in doing, which is not exactly his fault. He's getting paid really well. He got paid really well. I'm not, having a ton of sympathy for the guy, but still not a great spot for him, and that was tough. So We'll see. Northwestern, how many more wins they get the rest of the season? 2 or 3, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they certainly beat UL Monroe next week. They play Purdue at home. I think that's winnable.
I mean, UL Monroe though, they are 3-1, win over UTEP and Arkansas State. I'm not going to predict a win for UL Monroe. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
if that's a close game at halftime, don't be shocked.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be. Again, I don't know if anything's guaranteed with the offensive struggles for Northwestern, but there are a few winnable games still on the schedule.
Yeah. I mean, they could beat Purdue. It's home.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Minnesota, but it would really have to be a bunch of injuries for Minnesota for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But listen, if they go 4-8, even 5-7, I think there's progress there. So
Braun makes it through the season at 4-8.
Oh yeah. He's got to fire. He'll probably have to fire Zach Guggenheim, but
if Pat Fitzgerald is behind the scenes saying, "I want to come back,"
I mean, if they could get him, but that feels like a major firestorm. I think Pat Fitzgerald's going somewhere else at some point.
UCLA?
That's not his vibe. Wisconsin.
Oh my gosh, Pat Fitzgerald at Wisconsin would be. Well, I said Luke Fickell at Wisconsin would be awesome, so I should be careful.
but I think Pat Fitzgerald would vibe with Wisconsin way better.
Yeah, he could. Now that's gonna be crazy. I hope Pat Fitzgerald does take a job in the Big Ten. I would love to have Pat Fitzgerald in the Big Ten again.
Illini makes a good point here too. Fitz wants Iowa.
Is he connected to Iowa?
That's I mean, he played for Northwestern, so
I was gonna say I don't think unless he had a job there at some point that I don't know about. Let me look at his history really fast. Idaho, Northwestern his whole career. He was at Maryland as a GA, but Mike Loxley isn't losing his job this year.
No.
Illinois, yeah. I don't see a connection to Iowa. I guess it could happen. I mean, it's a good program, and he could win at Iowa for sure. And job security is awesome at Iowa.
It's true. Philip just made a comment. Apparently, your audio is really quiet compared to mine.
Oh, I'll turn myself up. I'm also not super close to the microphone right now. Sorry about that, guys. All right. Hey, we are going to get into the second version of the show, second segment. So if you're listening on podcast, we're going to say adios. If you are with us on YouTube, stick around because we are going to get into the AP poll, get into me and Zach's top 25 next, and we'll really appreciate it. So Philip is still saying I'm hard to hear, so let me turn it up. All right. Is that any better? Let me know if I am still hard to hear. I just turned it up a little bit. So, all right. We will end things on the podcast side here and stick around for the YouTube side. We will be right back. Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and we are presented by FanDuel. We appreciate you being here and listening into us. The AP poll was released on Sunday afternoon. Zach and I are going to do our normal Tuesday morning thing here on the podcast. Talk through the AP poll. What do we like? What do we dislike? We'll give our own top 25 to make sure we are giving our own opinions and not just subjecting others to our opinions as well. And then give you our college football playoff predictions at the end of the episode. So stick with us. We appreciate you being here, and let's welcome in one Zach Guggenheim, who just loves the AP poll. I know he loves the AP poll.
It's like drawing on a chalkboard. That's what it is.
Yeah.
With your nails. Yeah, sorry. Fingernails on a chalkboard. That's what I meant to say. How is Florida State so much lower than Alabama?
I mean, they lost to Virginia.
But Florida State beat Alabama by 2 scores.
We'll talk about it. I don't dislike it. I have Alabama way over Florida State in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't dislike it. So, All right, we appreciate everybody being here. Just coming off talking some Ryan Fitzgerald, or Pat Fitzgerald. Just said Ryan because Illini Bubba's comment there. Talking about some Pat Fitzgerald and stuff like that. So the comments going crazy about that. But we are going to get to this AP poll, which is going to be fun to discuss. So we've got it here. Oh, where'd that go? There he is. So the AP poll, I'll read it off for us really fast, and then Zach can start with his thoughts. And maybe we'll start at Alabama, Florida State, have a nice little fun debate between me and Zach. So the AP poll goes, Ohio State stays number 1. However, some votes for first place did go to Oregon at number 2. Miami still had a few votes. They are number 3, followed by Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas A&M at number 6. Penn State only drops to 7, still staying high up there, followed behind by Indiana at 8. Texas, Alabama, Texas Tech, Georgia, LSU, Iowa State, Tennessee at number 15, then Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Missouri, Michigan, and then outside of the top 20, you have number 21, Notre Dame, Illinois, BYU, Virginia, and Arizona State. Zach, your reaction?
I think you just saw it, or maybe heard it if you're on podcast.
To which one? Which one?
So many.
There were multiple of those moments that you
yes.
gave throughout.
Okay, I get that USC lost, but they are not worse than Virginia. Stop it. Put them back in the poll. Oy. So that's one. That's the biggest one, if I'm honest.
I was going to say, should we compare Virginia's resume to USC's really fast? Virginia has beat Coastal Carolina. They lost at NC State. And then they beat William & Mary, Stanford, and Florida State. USC beat Missouri State. Who was it? Georgia Southern, at Purdue, Michigan State, and then lost by a single score at Illinois.
So they're rewarding UVA for what they deem as a better win.
Yes, but they still did not move UVA over Florida State.
Yeah. And UVA also lost to NC State, who's not good.
NC State was looking good there for a little bit. Who did they lose to?
They just lost to Virginia Tech.
Oh, yeah. Virginia Tech beat. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. And they also lost to Duke, which is at Duke. I get that. I don't hate that one, but.
No, Duke's decent, which adds to Illinois' feather in Illinois' cap, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of an impossible scenario to try and hold the Alabama, Florida State, and Virginia thing the right way. Because if you're going to do that, you probably would have to put all of them in the very middle of the poll. You'd have to put Virginia at like 12, Florida State at 13, and Alabama at 14. I mean, that doesn't make sense either, right? People would be up in arms about that.
Well,
you would have to put Virginia over Georgia to make that happen.
Yeah,
because you would have to have it go Virginia, Florida State, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee.
This is why I don't have Virginia in my poll at all.
Yeah, I didn't
have. But I do it. Either. But ironically, I have Florida State and Alabama 12 and 13. So I mean, you almost.
Yeah, you were still really high on Florida State.
I think they beat Alabama. I think they should be recognized for it. I also think more losses are coming that'll sink them down. But
okay.
We'll talk about it later. Can I talk about
Phillip
one thing?
Says no G5 schools ranked. Philip, there's multiple ACC teams that are ranked. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Wow. Shots fired. I will say this though. Credit for putting Indiana above Texas, despite the fact that Texas was on a bye and Indiana struggled on the road. Good on them. Recognizing greatness. Indiana should be higher than 8th, though.
Were you surprised to see Indiana move up that high, though? I mean, they were 11th last week. And they
I'm
moved up
shocked.
3 spots after struggling on the road to Iowa. I don't hate it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not arguing. I like that they put them up there, but I was shocked that they did that.
Shocked. Although I think the fact that Illinois beat USC actually helped their cause. Because it was
didn't help Illinois all that much, though. Illinois moved up 1 spot. Like, that's the crazy thing to me. Like, Illinois was 23. They beat USC, who was 21. They move up 1 spot. I guess it was at home, but still, like.
Yeah, I think that win though validated Indiana blowing out a good opponent. I think a lot of people thought Illinois wasn't for real last week.
Mm-hmm.
Now they beat USC and they're like, oh, they are for real. It's just Illinois is darn good, and they beat. I think what is still a respected Iowa program
Yeah,
at Iowa.
yeah. Um, it's hard right now with Michigan because Michigan lost to Oklahoma, who the AP poll has as a top 5 team right now. But
Yeah.
Michigan still sits at only 20th. They lost on the road in the very first road game for the freshman quarterback. So they sit at 20th. Meanwhile, a team like Georgia, who loses at home to a team in Alabama who was near, barely top 20. I can't remember exactly where they were, but they were just inside the top 20. And Georgia only moves down to 12th. Like,
Mm-hmm.
eh, Michigan at the very least should be above Tennessee. Am I crazy?
You're saying that Michigan should at least go above Tennessee. I
Yes,
think
and you have them above Tennessee in your poll, so you agree.
yeah, I agree. I think Michigan it's hard because I feel like not a lot of people respect Nebraska. And
Which is
when,
insane. Nebraska should have been ranked when Michigan played them.
yeah, well, and it goes back I think I think there's inherent SEC bias in this poll.
Yeah, 100% there is. Yeah.
Yeah, like so I mean you said it before, like I think Tennessee's decent. Like I think they are maybe at the bottom 25. In fact, I have them 22nd. They're not 15th, which is why I don't have a lot of respect right now for Georgia. Even though I think they're good, I don't think they're great. And yeah, I think it's so frustrating.
I just think there's such a conundrum right now with teams like Georgia, Texas, Michigan, Alabama, and LSU, right? Because you have Alabama who lost to Florida State, but they went on to beat Georgia. You have Georgia who lost to Alabama, but they did beat Tennessee. You have Michigan who lost to Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's a top 5 team according to the AP poll. So you could say that's probably the best loss out of all of these. Texas obviously has the best loss, losing to
right.
Ohio State. But then you have LSU who loses to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss, like they're having a good season so far. But I don't think anybody's looking at Ole Miss and saying they're a real national championship threat. They do not have the defense, and right now I don't want to disrespect Trinidad Chambliss because I do think he's playing well, but I'm curious what he's going to look like against a good defense. And I know some people think LSU has a good defense. I think LSU just faced Clemson. Clemson's offense is just bad. I don't know
Yeah.
if I think LSU has a good defense or not. So I am thinking it's going to be very interesting what happens moving forward. But to me, those teams, LSU, Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, and Texas, are all kind of on the same plane, and it's one of the biggest reasons for SEC bias going on right now when you see
Yeah.
all 4 of those teams in the top 15, including Tennessee, and Michigan is only 20th.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to the preseason, right? Because LSU is still getting a bump from Clemson, and
Which
they're
is
still
ridiculous.
getting a bump from Florida, who
Which is ridiculous. Yeah.
Florida is 1-3. They're not good. Clemson is 1-3. They're not good. So we honestly don't know how good or how bad LSU is. I can give you a hint. They're probably not as good as you think because Brian Kelly's their head coach. Not good. They're probably a top 25 team, but like LSU has several more losses on their schedule to this point. They might be out of the poll at some point because they play at Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, at Alabama. Yeesh. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC has so much parity right now. It's the teams that kind of have the easiest schedules are going to be the ones that make it to the playoffs, I feel like. And that's one of the reasons why we
I
get
think
to
Ole
the
Miss
college football playoff predictions. That's why I have Ole Miss so high up there, is because they have one of the most favorable schedules remaining in the SEC. It's not that I think they're a great team or anything. I think they're a really good offense. I think they struggle defensively, and that's going to come back to bite them. But they have one of the most favorable schedules in the SEC, which is going to put them pretty highly ranked in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ole Miss has a very, very easy schedule. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're good. I think they're decent, right? Like I think Lane Kiffin, as much crap as we give Lane Kiffin, he's a good coach. I'm interested to see what they do with Washington State in a couple weeks because Washington State played Washington.
Let me mention one more thing on the top 5, and then we'll get to Washington State. Sorry, I want to mention one more thing. 3 of the top 5 teams in the betting odds for national championship are not in the top 8. Alabama, Texas, and Georgia. And 3 of the teams in the top 5 in the AP poll are not in the top 5 of odds to win the national championship on FanDuel. Miami, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma. It's kind of crazy right now the way this AP poll is turning out and the way the odds are not really changing. I mean, you saw Penn State move down a little bit, but Penn State is still really high up there. And I think it just kind of speaks to the way the voters are voting this season. I don't know if I like it better or if I dislike it. I'm not really too sure because it is so still at week 6. It is so like you lose this game, boom, you're all the way out of the playoff. The AP poll. Like to me, USC should not have been moved out for Virginia, and I don't think Georgia should have moved all the way from 4th to 12th. But that's the product of what you have when you lose to an Alabama team that lost to Florida State. Like my biggest takeaway from this is the AP poll has no idea what to do when there's not a clear-cut team in the SEC.
Oh, agreed. Totally. Well, the fact that Ole Miss is number 4, despite they have one win that you're like, oh, that's good, and we're not even sure how good LSU is. This goes, but more to your point, the AP poll whiffed so bad in the preseason that we're actually less clear on who's good than before.
Yeah, because who was the top 10 in the preseason? LSU was in there; they're out of the top 10. Illinois was in there; they're out of the top 20. Notre Dame was in there; they're not in the top 20 either. Trying to think of who else. Georgia was up there; they're not in there anymore. Clemson was up there; they're not even ranked.
So here's your top 10 from preseason. It was Texas number 1, Penn State number 2, Ohio State number 3, Clemson number 4, Georgia number 5, Notre Dame 6, Oregon 7, Alabama 8, LSU 9, Miami 10. So out of all those, Texas lost week 1, who is your number 1 team, and you still don't know if they have good talent, but like what's Arch going to be? Penn State showed that they're vulnerable. Clemson, LOL. Georgia, we're not sure. Notre Dame lost their 2 biggest games.
Georgia doesn't have nearly the front 7 that they've had in the past, and they have just as bad a wide receivers. They have a Stetson Bennett somewhat level quarterback in Gunnar Stockton. He's able to move the ball down the field. I think Stetson Bennett was still better than Gunnar Stockton, but he's at least on that level somewhat, right?
Yeah.
But they don't have Mike Bobo is not Todd Monken.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to mistake him for that anytime soon. So it's just really, really interesting the way the top 10 is working out and how AP poll voters are trying to figure things out when everything just kind of goes to crap with what they thought in the preseason, and especially with the SEC, what they thought as well. Yeah. Okay, sorry, Zach. I interrupted you. You can go ahead and do the Washington State thing now.
Well, I was just going to say it'll be interesting to see Ole Miss play Washington State because Ole Miss and Washington, it'll be a common opponent for maybe where I think Ole Miss is comparatively is like a Washington. Maybe I'm wrong.
Is that game at Ole Miss?
I think so. Let me see. It is. Let me check here.
They play that at
it's in Oxford. It's in Oxford.
That is going to be the hard part because Washington did travel to Washington State, albeit not a far travel. Obviously, it's in the state, but still, it's going to be very interesting how that one turns out.
Yeah. So I will say this. I think like every other year, Alabama has a loss where you're like, oh, that's the end of it. Alabama's going away. I'm not sure the Georgia win validates that Alabama is definitely back, even though that's what my playoff bracket will indicate. But I do wonder if they're back.
I mean, was it all that much different than last year, though? Like, I didn't catch all of that game. I watched most of it. But, like, Alabama didn't score in the second half.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they scored, they came out on fire and scored 27 points in the first half. They scored, I think, 34 in the first half last year against Georgia, and they scored a touchdown late to give them the game. The difference in this one is that Georgia is just so, I don't want to say inept, but not good on offense that they weren't even able to score more than a touchdown in the second half. All you needed was a touchdown and a field goal to tie it up, but they still weren't able to make that happen.
Yeah.
Credit Alabama's defense, but Alabama jumps all the way from 17th to 10th. Georgia jumps all the way from 5th down to 12th. I guess it is an even 7-7 drop and jump, but still.
Yeah. There's lots of questions for sure. Interestingly enough, their game against Vanderbilt is going to be really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It is.
All right, well, let's do our top 25, Zach. I'll go first with mine. I'm just going to go through it really quick, and then we'll go through yours really quick because I feel like we've already talked about the top 25 a bunch. So my top 25, I have Ohio State number 1. Gave a lot of thought to Oregon at number 1. They did have the better win, but I think that if Washington is the team that I think they are, then I think that Ohio State has the better secondary win, which is not nearly as impressive as Oregon's win at Penn State in the whiteout, but still I think is enough to jump them up there because Oregon's second best win is Northwestern on the road, and I just don't think that compares to Washington at all. Followed by that is Miami, Indiana. I have at number 4. Don't call me crazy for that. Multiple AP voters had Indiana up there at 4 as well. I do have Ole Miss, more resume based. I don't know if they're the 5th best team in the nation, but resume based, they're up there. Texas A&M, Oklahoma. We'll see what they are without John Mateer. Vanderbilt, I have in the top 10. They're winning. And I think right now there's not a lot of people that want to give them credit for it. I get it. But I'm willing to give them credit if they win. Then I have Penn State at 9, Alabama 10, Texas Tech. This is where I have that bunch I was talking about with Texas at 12, then LSU, Michigan, Georgia, and then Illinois at number 16, 17, Notre Dame. I know they have 2 losses, but this is still a team that they played 2 really tough opponents, it feels like, so they need to be up there. I still have USC in the top 20 at number 18, followed by Iowa State, Georgia Tech, Washington at number 21, Memphis, Florida State, Nebraska at number 24, and Maryland at number 25. Any comment on that before we get to your Zach?
You definitely punished Florida State. You definitely punished them.
I don't think I had them as high as you. I think I had them. I need to go back and check for sure. I only had them about 15 or 16.
Yeah, I had them as a top 10 team.
Yeah,
but no, I think I can see where you get everything, and I think that makes sense.
Good. I try to make sense. All right.
Yeah.
Well, here, let me see the comments really fast just to make sure. PK says, I like it. Appreciate it, PK. Blue Wolverine with the eyeballs. Yes, you see your Wolverines up there. I'll give the Wolverines credit when they deserve credit. I'm not a complete hater. Hey, Max is all about it. He says, nobody cares about the AP poll. We want the Big Ten Huddle poll. We will have to put together a poll here in the next few weeks that combines me, you, and Jeff, all 3 of us. That would be interesting to do. Yeah, so Blueprint says lies. Hey, chill. All right, Zach, you go with yours.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I gave no consideration to Oregon at 1. Because I am a hater, apparently. No, I would argue that Ohio State still has the best win, and I think they have a better second win at Washington than anybody. I think that's maybe the best set of wins that anybody has currently, based on how I'm seeing teams. So that's my concession that Ohio State's won, but I do think Oregon's number 2, Miami 3, Indiana 4. I have Texas A&M 5. I'm becoming more of a believer in A&M. I have Ole Miss 6, Oklahoma 7, mostly because Mateer is hurt. I think if Mateer wasn't hurt, I would have put him at 5. Texas 8, Vandy 9. I really hate that I have 5 SEC teams 5 through 9, but also I think they kind of deserve it. So,
well, it does speak to the parity of the
yeah,
conference, and I mean, you also don't value Penn State very much, so that's going to naturally happen. Because
yeah,
I don't know if there's another argument for another Big Ten team to be even, I wouldn't say even
yeah,
close, but to be in the Big Ten right now. If Michigan wins some more games, they will
yeah,
be. But
yeah. I have Texas Tech 10, Georgia Tech 11, Florida State 12, Alabama 13, Penn State 14, which I know is going to get me some flack, but I said it in our takeaways. I just don't see a top 10 team right now. I think their defense is very good. I think they were aided by the whiteout tremendously. I want to see them. I want to see them bounce back. I want to see them how they do against maybe more than just Villanova, if I'm being honest. LSU 15, Michigan 16, Georgia 17, Missouri 18, Iowa State 19, Illinois 20, USC 21. I'm not going to punish USC for losing to Illinois that much. I'm just going to put them a hair under Illinois. Tennessee 22, Washington 23, Maryland 24, and Utah rounding it out at 25.
there you go. Did you give any thought to Nebraska with how Cincinnati is 3-1 and currently favored to beat? Who are they playing this weekend? They're playing. Cincinnati's favored at home over Iowa State by 1.5 on FanDuel.
Interesting. I didn't think about it a ton more because I was actually debating between Utah and BYU, and I went Utes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I went Utes, but I think there's certainly conversation to be had about Nebraska.
That makes sense. There was some Old Dominion chat in there. No, I did not put Old Dominion in my top 25. However, I will give you a stat here. Zach, there are 4 G5 teams in the top 8 with percentage odds to go undefeated the rest of the year greater than 10%. Can you name those 4 teams that are G5?
This is to make the playoffs?
No, this is just to win out the rest of the year.
Oh, to win out.
Yeah. So they don't have to be undefeated right now, but they win the rest of their games.
I'd say Memphis.
Memphis is third, yes. Third in the G5, not third overall. Third in the group of 5 teams.
Yeah, man.
2 of them are from the MAC, and one of them I just mentioned.
Is Toledo one of them?
Toledo is the highest, yes, 15.5%.
Ohio
is 4th, 13.2%. You're good at this.
Oh, but who's the one that you just mentioned?
Indiana. They were asking about it. They're on our top 25.
Oh,
Old
gosh.
Dominion.
Old Dominion. Oh, sorry. You just said it. Wow. My bad.
Yes, Old Dominion sits at 3-1. They have a 13.8% chance to win out the rest of the season. So, it's a pretty interesting put together there. It is still a G5 team, but hey, if they win out the rest of the season and make the playoffs, that's a nice little. Even if they don't make the playoffs, if they still go like 10-2 or something like that, that would be a nice little feather in the cap for Indiana to fall back on and say, hey, not every team we faced in the out of conference was bad. Look at Old Dominion.
Absolutely.
We'll see how it plays out. But all right, Zach, let's get to our college football playoff predictions. Here is mine. I still have Ohio State at number 1, followed by Oregon at number 2. I think it's a very likely possibility both of those 2 teams win out the rest of the year. They are number 1, number 2, face each other in the Big Ten championship game. And then we see the same thing as last year where you just keep the same spot after the championship game. And then I have Miami number 3, Ole Miss at number 4. I don't know if they win the SEC championship or not, but I think they could be up there in the top 5 to stay if they keep winning. Number 5, I have Indiana. Then number 6, Alabama. 7, Texas Tech. 8, Georgia. 9, Notre Dame. Winner of that game plays Ohio State. I think almost for sure, if that possibility is there, the committee will definitely put those 2 teams together to try and play Ohio State, because at this point it's just destiny. Ohio State has played Notre Dame every year somehow. They played them the last 3 years. And if they don't get them, who says no to Ohio State Georgia matchup in the playoffs in the second round? After what we saw a few years ago, would love to see it. And then number 10, I have Texas, followed by Penn State at number 11 with my group of 5 team. Memphis at number 12. Almost did Toledo again, but decided to go with the team that has showed it a little bit more lately and went with Memphis. Any thoughts,
Nice.
Zach?
I am surprised you have Notre Dame in because their schedule just got blown up this past weekend.
Yeah, but Notre Dame. If they win out, and I think there's enough parity in the sport right now. If they just keep winning, they're already in the top 25 right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard for them. It's gonna be
year, right. They lost to Northern Illinois and then they just killed teams down the stretch.
Yeah, but they beat teams that people respected, right? Like they beat Texas A&M in the opener at Texas A&M. They had a couple of decent wins to put a feather in their cap. Let me just look at the schedule to make sure.
I mean, after not really.
They also just lost once. They didn't lose twice.
Yeah, but they were a what seed were they? 8.
Yeah,
because they got the home field against Indiana.
They beat Louisville, who they were 8-4, so they were not ranked, but they were a decent
they were 15th
team
at the time.
Yeah, they beat Navy, who's number 24, number 19 Army. So no, their schedule was not great, but they did only lose one, and they beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M, and they didn't finish ranked.
Yeah. I mean, this schedule is dog crap. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Boise State, NC State, USC, at Boston College, Navy, at Pittsburgh, Syracuse, and at Stanford.
Yeah.
But I think Marcus Freeman has played the style points game before, and I think he knows what he's doing. And I think USC, even if they're not ranked, that's going to be a Big Ten team you have a win against if you beat them. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm not fully confident that they're going to beat them. But if they do, and then, yeah, I mean, some of these ACC teams are just bad.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's true.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like there's enough parity right now, especially with what we're seeing from the SEC, that I feel like Notre Dame will find a way to sneak in there. Maybe I have them too high at 9th, but I think they'll find a way.
It is possible. They also have to deal with USC.
Yeah.
That could be a win that really that if they can beat USC and USC wins out after that, I think that could be.
Parker asks, do you like Marcus Freeman? I like Marcus Freeman. I don't have a problem with him.
The guy,
he tried to go out of his way a little bit to try and ingratiate himself to Notre Dame, but hey, it worked for him. The Notre Dame fans seem to like him. So
they got to a national championship game. They beat Georgia. They beat Penn State last year. He's lost some games that he shouldn't have lost, but the dude's a great coach, and he's only going to get better.
Yeah. Billy Tuesday asked if I meant USC was crap. No, I'm not. Unless you're talking to somebody else, Billy Tuesday. You might be talking to somebody else in the comments. I called Notre Dame's schedule crap. I'm not saying USC is crap. I have them ranked 18th in my top 25. So I still think it would be an impressive win if Notre Dame gets the win. But I don't know if others would see it that way, right? I think that's kind of the hardest thing, right?
Yeah.
So just wanted to clarify that. All right, Zach, your college football playoff prediction. Go for it.
Yeah. So. Top 4 or my top 3 are pretty similar. I just have Oregon and Miami flip-flopped, but like Oregon will still be in the same bracket essentially, or it's same side of the bracket. So I have Ohio State 1, Miami 2, Oregon 3. I have Alabama 4. I think they're going to win out. Maybe it's just the memories of Nick Saban. But
I don't know. They might lose to Vanderbilt this weekend, man.
They might. If they do, then they'll be out of my playoff prediction. But I just wonder if the juggernaut train is starting to get back on track. We know that Kalen DeBoer, like we gave him a lot of crap when he lost to FSU, but he's a good coach, and I wonder if they're able to get things back on track. So I've got Bama 4. Texas 5.
Is Kalen DeBoer a good coach?
What he did at Washington was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I would argue.
I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm just saying I think some people think of him as a great coach. I I don't think so. Maybe not as many since he lost to Florida State. But sorry, go ahead. I'm starting a different conversation.
I think he's a really. I'll just say I think he's a really good coach. I don't know if he's great.
Yeah.
So
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Texas 5, because I think Texas's talent's going to win out a lot of games down the stretch. Like and I think Arch is going to figure some things out. So I like Texas at 5. Indiana at 6. Texas Tech as the Big 12 champ at 7. Ole Miss at 8. Georgia Tech at 9. I just don't see them losing more than like one game. And then Texas A&M at 10. I've got Michigan at 11.
Yeah, some people are asking about that over Penn State. So why don't you talk through that a little bit for them?
So I just look at Michigan's schedule, and Michigan, their schedule is Wisconsin, at USC, home against Washington, at Michigan State, Purdue at home, at Northwestern, at Maryland, Ohio State. I think there's a really good chance with that schedule, if they continue to progress, they go 10-2 or 11-1. I'm not so sure Penn State doesn't go 9-3.
Yeah, I mean, people need to watch out for that Indiana game. That's all I'm saying. Like the Indiana smoke is not fake this year. I think some people kind of saw it a little bit as fake last year, and I don't think it was entirely fake, but I do think it was a learning experience for him last year. This Indiana team is legit. I know everybody's going to look at last year and say, oh, you lost to Notre Dame and Ohio State. That's fine, but this is a team that also beat Michigan last year. So let's see.
Yeah. Well, and if Penn State doesn't change the offense, that makes them vulnerable. And they would be particularly vulnerable against a team like Indiana, who beat another team that was better than them on the lines a year ago, but was vulnerable offensively, Michigan. So I'm not saying that Penn State is broken offensively like Michigan was a year ago, but there are major issues on that offense. So in this scenario, Michigan would get the nod at the 11 seed and then Memphis at 12.
It's kind of wild we're saying that Penn State is the one with issues on offense after what Michigan put out there last year, and now they have a true freshman quarterback at quarterback. Penn State should not be the team we're talking about here with offensive issues.
Well, and Michigan,
insane.
Michigan does have issues.
And that's a compliment. But not what they had last year. I'm complimenting
Yeah.
Michigan here by saying you're able to fix some things and not have nearly as many issues. It's a competent offense this year at the very least. Could be better than that. But that's what I'm saying is like just so crazy about this conversation to be like, oh yeah, Michigan, who had one of the worst offenses in all of college football last year, they got a true freshman quarterback, and now this offense is competent enough. And Penn State is the one that we're like, are they going to make the playoffs? Because Drew Aller just can't get out of his own head, it seems like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had them 11th, so I'm not bashing you at all.
No, well, and I think Penn State has a chance to get in, but they're going to have a hard conversation even if they just lose to Ohio State. Mm-hmm. Now, the fact that Indiana blew out Illinois, if they continue the trajectory, then I think Penn State has a much better case. But I think they will. But I don't think the Indiana game's a gimme. Like at this point, I would pick Indiana to beat Penn State, even at Penn State.
I don't know. I'm still going back and forth on that. I give the lean to Indiana in my power rankings, but at Penn State, we'll see.
Remember, Penn State has to play Ohio State the week before.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We will see how it goes. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun, and we're going to get to it all. And Zach and I are going to get to bed after this one, and we appreciate you being here. Zach, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your thoughts about the AP Poll Top 25, giving your own 25 and your college football playoff predictions. Is there anything else you would like to get to before we get out of here?
I'd like to get to bed.
All right. Well, we will get you to bed. Don't you worry, Zach. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being in the chat. If you're listening on podcast, thank you for being here as well. I would just like to remind everybody, we take shots at teams and have some fun sometimes, but don't take everything too seriously. Okay. Sometimes it's all just in good fun and stuff. So sometimes I do say things that are, tough on others, but it's like we're having a good time here. So, and yeah,
Max is having a great time.
he is. Max always has a great time. We appreciate how much fun Max has with us here.
I will rest easy.
There you go. You can rest knowing that the Big Ten has the top 4 teams in SP Plus, Zach, as I know SP Plus is what you look to more often than anything else.
That I'm just astonished. It's a dream, isn't it?
This is what you've always wanted.
This is the best day of my life.
Do you know what order they're in, by the way?
I'm going to assume it's Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, Penn State.
I just had it pulled up. I can't find it now. Well, this is very anticlimactic. I had it pulled up and everything. Now I can't find it. Well, it will just have to remain a mystery unless somebody looks it up for themselves, and we'll see where it goes from here. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time. See ya.